movement of cargo from the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach to Las Vegas and points east. It's really important infrastructure. This is how Los Angeles Basin gets to the east of the country. And a lot of that's shut down.
What moves through there, Sharon? This is coming out of the ports of California. This is cross-Pacific trade and freight?
Yeah, there's a place called the Cajon Pass. It tops out at about 3,800 feet. The first railroad went through there in the 1880s. There's now 4 rail lines that run as many as 200 trains through there, up and over the pass every single day. And one of these trains could carry the equivalent of 250 truckloads. So it takes a lot of trucks off the freeway, but when it's shut down, they have to reroute those trains through other places. And that's just not convenient. The most direct way east from the ports of LA, which carry goods from Asia, is through the Cajon Pass. And it's back open northbound on the freeway, but the railroads, I think, were interrupted quite significantly.
Is California thinking about how to cope? If Professor Miller's right, this is some kind of new normal, and surely this is not the only infrastructure that is vulnerable. Can you fireproof infrastructure, or do you have to move it, or how's the state thinking about this?
Well, I mean, do you really want to? Part of the problem that has led to more serious wildfires is the policies that were for decades going on of suppressing every single fire. And so what you ended up with was forests that were overgrown. That led to an infestation of bark beetles that were able to attack the smaller trees, which led to having forests of standing matchsticks that would burn very, very quickly. And I think some of the more recent thinking is to, if it can burn without taking out homes and important infrastructure, maybe let it burn and let the forest regenerate itself. Now, the area that's burning now is more scrubby. It's if you like the desert, it's very, very scenic. But this fire is taking out a whole lot of stuff that hasn't burned in a long time. And so that fire kind of reduces the severity of future fires.
People looking at underlying conditions here very closely. Sharon McNary, standby at KPCC in Pasadena. With us now also from Sierra Madre, California, is Bill Patzert, climatologist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Bill, thank you very much for joining us.
Good day, Tom.
When you look at the fires in California this year, when you look at this 5 years of drought, and you look at climate patterns, do you see an interaction, Bill?
Well, the history of the American West is really written in great droughts followed by great fires. And it's an old story. This drought really began about 16 years ago. We have these multi-decadal droughts. Right now there's 26 large fires alive and well and causing destruction across the American West. California, there's 9 big fires we're fighting today. And so in many ways, this is not that unusual. But what has changed over the last half century is that the population of California has quadrupled. And so my simple formula is more people, more fire.
More people, more fire. I mean, people are causing the fire?
Yes, as the interface between the wildlands and the national forest, the urban, suburban development, the more people you put in this interface, the more fires you have. About 95% of the fires in Southern California are accidentally or intentionally caused by people.
So, I mean, here we have some realities then. One reality is a lot more people than there used to be in California. The other is, I mean, this drought, of course, droughts come and go, but this has been a long and deep one. How do you manage this, Bill? That's a pretty volatile combination.
Yes, it's a very volatile combination. And, of course, Sharon made a very good point, is that, in some ways, we fight too many big fires, and so the national forests and some of these wildlands are overgrown with fuel. And so by fighting big fires, not letting little fires burn out naturally, we set ourselves up for what we're experiencing here today in Southern California.
Here's among the 82,000 told to evacuate in San Bernardino. This is a woman named Marha. She's talking about her future. Uncertain, she tells ABC 7 News.
I think this is the worst that I've ever seen, you know, and it's kind of getting used to the idea of being homeless.
Sharon McNary, where are all those people who were evacuated? Are they headed back home yet, or they're still, where are they rounded up or spending their time?
Well, there are 2 evacuation centers set up. They tend to be not terribly well populated. Generally, people are going to follow the friends and family plan. Most people have secondary places to go to. Also, a lot of homeowner insurance will pay for the cost of additional living expenses if you're subject to a mandatory evacuation. So why go to a Red Cross shelter and sleep on a cot if you can be in a hotel room? You know, there's lots of other places to go. And mostly these evacuation centers become points of exchanging information, looking for information about your home or registering yourself as an evacuee.
Life as we know it today in California hit hard by wildfire. Sharon McNary with KPCC. Please stand by there in Pasadena. Bill Patzer with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory climatologist there in Sierra Madre, California. Listeners, you can join us. What are you thinking as you watch the flames in California, the fresh flood in Louisiana? Are you there? Tell us what you see. Do you have family there? What are they saying? 800-423-8255 is our number. 800-423-TALK. I'm Tom Ashbrook. This is On Point. We'll be right back.
On Point continues in just 1 minute. We're live and local, and we're South Florida's only NPR news source. We're 91.3 WLRN, 91.5 in the Keys, and 101.9 in the Palm Beaches. Streaming live at WLRN.org. Stay with us.
Hi there, I'm Pia Chattopadhyay. So what happened to the threat of Zika? And who is the greater champion, Michael Phelps or Usain Bolt? Next time on Q, we'll convene a special All-Olympics edition of our sports culture panel. That's coming up on Q from PRI, Public Radio International.
Coming up at 8 on 91.3 WLRN.
It only seems appropriate. The same composer of this also wrote the music for the Sunshine Economy. I'm Tom Hudson. The Sunshine Economy returns to WLRN on Mondays in September. Made possible by Kaufman Rawson.
South Florida Theater League at 91.3 WLRN offers same-day half-price tickets at leading regional theaters and cultural organizations, including Andrews Living Arts Studio, Area Stage Company, and Evening Star Productions. Information and a complete list of shows online at culturalconnection.org. Culturalconnection.org, your ticket to the cultural arts.
Support for On Point comes from Linguistica 360 with news in slow Spanish, French, and Italian programs, weekly language learning shows with discussions of current events. More at newsinslowspanish.com, newsinslowfrench.com, and newsinslowitalian.com. And Dear Sugar, WBUR's advice podcast, hosted by Steve Almond and Cheryl Strayed, author of Wild, with new episodes every week and guests like Lena Dunham. The Dear Sugar podcast is available on iTunes.
I'm Tom Ashbrook. This is On Point. We're talking this hour about fire and rain, epic fire and flood in California and Louisiana, the impact and what all this may say about what is to come. You can join us this hour. Are you there? Are you seeing this? Are you hearing reports from friends and family? What does it mean when once in 500-year storms stack up like this across the American South, come crowding in such a short period of time? Are you surrounded by tinder, dry terrain, drought terrain? Do you fear a wildfire in your home turf? And if this keeps up, what are the implications for California, for Louisiana, beyond? We're at 800-423-8255. 800-423-TALK. Lots of fires in California this year. Paul Lowenthal, spokesman for CAL FIRE here, talked to the Associated Press on Tuesday, ticking off all the fires that have struck Northern California in the past year.
this town, this county, and the neighboring county of Napa have experienced a lot of fires over the last year. We've had the Valley Fire, the Rocky Fire, the Jerusalem Fire, and now the Clayton Fire. Napa counties had the Cold Fire, they had the Rag Fire.
And in the south, right now, the Blue Cut Fire. We've all seen the pictures. 80,000 ordered evacuated. Here's NBC's Adrian Arambolo describing the scene on Wednesday.
We can tell you that this fire has been unique in the sense that, according to firefighters, that it essentially created its own weather patterns in certain places. Our cameras captured at least 2 fire tornadoes spawned in these conditions.
We're going to go to Louisiana in just a moment. From California, we have with us Sharon McNary from KPCC in Pasadena. Bill Patzert, climatologist with NASA, joining us today from Sierra Madre, California. Sharon, Bill, lots of callers for the two of you. We're going to go to Louisiana soon. Grayson in Wakefield, Michigan. Grayson, thank you for calling. You're on the air.
Thank you, Mr. Ashbrook. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I was a helicopter pilot for 30 years, and I fought some fires, and also flew in Alaska and saw a lot of the glaciers that went away. And so about 3 years ago, when I retired, I started investigating the science and went to the National Academy of Science and the American Meteorological Society and the American Association for the Advancement of Science. And for years, they've been telling us this is what's coming. And so I got really involved, and just recently, it's not just the coast. We have a very underpopulated area in northern Michigan and northern Wisconsin, and we had about $30 million worth of damage from 12 inches of rain that came down in a very short period of time. And what all the scientists say, it's simply too much carbon dioxide going into the air. It's holding the heat in. The heat's warming up the dry areas and drying them out, like in California, but it's also heating the oceans up, putting more moisture in the air, and so the normal areas that get rain are now going to get them in huge deluges. And this is not going to stop for 20 to 50 years after we quit putting more carbon dioxide in there.
So let's be thinking. Let's get busy. Grayson, former helicopter pilot who's seen a lot from the air, I appreciate your call. Let me get one more, if I may. Beyond fire country here, we're into flood territory, Louisiana anyway. Olivia in Hammond, Louisiana. Thank you for calling, Olivia. You're on the air.
Hi, Tom. I just wanted to say that we're kind of feeling over here in Louisiana that it's starting to become the new normal, actually, because we had a flood a couple months, a few months ago, actually. It didn't get national coverage like it is now.
Yeah.
But it still displaced a few people, and then this flood, I'm finding just on my Facebook feed, 10 of my friends have completely lost their homes. And a lot of the rescue efforts have been internal, like within just us rescuing each other and stuff.
So what's the conversation, Olivia? How are you talking about all this? You know, once you dry out and get a chance to think about it, Louisiana's had flooding, has had plenty of flooding for a long time, but if this is a new degree, what do you do?
It's very new. It seems as though, I think there's going to be a new standard for, people might be moving, but I think us Louisiana people are too stubborn to move. I think we have too much love for our own state. I think there's going to be a new standard for building at the very least. I know my rent is going up just for flood insurance, even though my home is raised. Yeah. Thank goodness. But I think most homes are going to be, it's going to be a new standard where homes are going to be raised. Like, it's going to be a standard, like, having a house on the ground is going to be seen as foreign, you know?
Yeah, just won't do. Raised higher up off the ground. Olivia in Hammond, Louisiana. We're going to talk more about insurance and the insurance industry, how it is watching all this. One more, and I'll take it back to Sharon and Bill. Diana is calling from London, England. Diana, you're on the air. Thank you for calling.
Hi, thank you. I would like to commend to you and your listeners an article by climate change activist Bill McKibben in the latest New Republic, where he calls for a literal war on climate change. He describes the kind of the rate and nature of destruction that's caused by climate change, compares that to what would occur if we were under attack by enemy forces. And he makes a terrific analogy with World War II in explaining what is required in response, and that would be total mobilization of all of our resources, huge investment in infrastructure, and just going all out as if we were at war with an enemy.
Diana, I appreciate your call from London, no less. Bill Patzert, how does that hit your ear in California? You've got a lot at stake. Sharon McNary reports on infrastructure. You've got a lot there. is California doing all it can? Does it need the country, the world, to do more to help create conditions where these fires are less likely?
Well, Tom, let's get right down to it. Global warming is a fact. We're living in a warmer world. The great ice sheets are melting. Sea level is rising. And we're seeing impacts on ecosystems in the American West. You know, we have warmer winters in California, shorter snowpack seasons. Right now there are 65 million dead trees in the American West. And of course that is fueling a lot of these fires. And what's projected is in a warmer atmosphere there will be more moisture, and we can expect more extreme weather like we're seeing in Louisiana. And so the bottom line is that we have to wean ourselves off fossil fuels. Because if we don't, and we don't do it very, very soon, is that it's going to be like getting hit in the head with a shot put. So global warming is the real deal, and it's having an impact all over the planet.
Bill Patzert with NASA, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory climatologist there, joining us from California. Bill, thanks very much for being with us.
My pleasure.
Sharon, can California invest enough alone to address the issues raised by all this fire?
Well, it's not just a matter of investments, it's economic policy. I mean, we've seen over the last 30, 40, 50 years a massive movement of the population into areas that were formerly forest and desert. And those are decisions going on in local cities, boards of supervisors of counties. And, you know, I mean, the housing boom, the bubble and the bust, tons of people moved into these very inexpensive vacation homes up on the mountain at a time when it was too expensive to buy down in the flats. And now some of those are now year-round residents. So when you look at the numbers of homes burned, a lot of those homes are homes that might not have been there but for decisions of our local governments, putting them in that area between you know, the more populated areas and the forests.
Lots of realities colliding here, not least in California, where the Blue Cut fire still rages, maybe 10% controlled. Sharon McNary at KPCC in Pasadena, thank you very much for joining us.
You bet.
I want to turn to Louisiana. The flooding there has been pretty epic. The Red Cross is now calling the flooding in Louisiana the worst natural disaster since Hurricane Sandy, Superstorm Sandy. At least 13 dead, 40,000 homes damaged, part of a wave of 500 and 1,000-year storms that have been hitting the South like popcorn. It wasn't so many months ago that we had South Carolina with its own record levels of rain and flooding across the state. This is last October. Governor Nikki Haley talking about just how rare this was, but there it was in their lap.
We are at a 1,000-year level of rain in parts of the low country. What does that mean? We haven't seen this level of rain in the low country in 1,000 years. That's how big this is. That's how South Carolina is, what South Carolina is dealing with right now. The Congaree River is at its